On Nightline, the big flood. Tonight, the Mississippi River is rising to record levels, expected to crest within hours, and residents in the flood zone scramble to save what they can. Diane Sawyer is where it's all happening in Memphis as the flooding spreads. Plus, Chaz's story. The only child of Sonny and Cher, Chastity Bono, the little girl who grew up in the spotlight. But now she's a he, and he documented every step of his transition. Tonight, Chaz Bono tells us and shows us how and why he became a man. And Cher's son. How does the legendary performer feel about losing a daughter and gaining a son?
I was really frightened in the beginning.
Chaz and Cher on the impact of his radical decision on their relationship.
From the global resources of ABC News with Terry Moran, Cynthia McFadden, and Bill Weir in New York City. This is Nightline, May 9th, 2011.
Good evening, I'm Cynthia McFadden. We begin with flooding on the Mississippi. That mighty river is still rising tonight. It's expected to crest overnight in Memphis, where President Obama has declared a major disaster as residents abandon homes. So why is the river running so high? 31 of the lower 48 states drain into the Mississippi or its tributaries, and many of those states saw record snowfalls this winter. It's a lot of water all at once. Diane Sawyer is in Memphis for our report, Mississippi Rising. Up is a little girl, the child of musical legends, but said he always felt like a boy. Now, Chaz Bono is a man. His transition recorded on videotape. How does he feel now? And what about his mother?
ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Progressive. From New York City with Cynthia McFadden.
What does it mean to be a transgender person? In the case of Chaz Bono, famously born Chastity Bono, daughter of performing sensations Sonny and Cher, it meant feeling like a boy trapped in a girl's body. Mentally male, physically female. Imagine, he says, waking up feeling just as you do right now, but in the body of the opposite gender. What would you do? 40 years in the making, Chaz Bono made the most radical change of all. I spoke with him for tonight's Nightline interview.
And here's our own very special guest.
Tonight and every night.
Our little girl, Chastity. Say goodnight. Now's the time.
Good night, everybody. God bless you.
This is the person the world remembers, the little blonde girl called Chastity in her famous parents' arms.
Babe. I got you, babe.
I can't tell you how many people throughout my life have said to me or wrote to me or whatever when I was a kid, I wished I was you.
Did we know what we were saying?
No, I don't think so. I would say very little on top.
This is Chaz as he's always seen himself, unquestionably, undeniably male. You have changed a lot in the last year and a half since I saw you last.
I know.
Your voice is much deeper.
It is.
There's a real beard growing.
Yeah. Yep. This was how I was born.
But feeling male and becoming male are two different things.
How's that look?
That looks great, man. Thank you.
You were all set, my man.
Okay. If I was an average Joe, I would have done this years ago. Because I felt a tremendous responsibility, not just for myself, but what am I doing to my family? What am I going to put them through?
Chaz had his first sex change operation a year and a half ago. It took him nearly 4 decades to start the process known as transitioning, changing physically and legally from female to male. So are you a straight man now?
Yeah, I am. Always was. I just didn't know it.
It is a process that included hormone shots and having his breasts removed, which documentary filmmakers captured. So let's talk about the top surgery.
Okay.
As it's called,
Mm-hmm.
and the decision to go to that step, because I think for lots of people, taking the hormones is one thing.
If you're a man and you have breasts, any man would want to have them removed. It's scary for a woman to think about it because it's something that they're really attached to. Being a male and having breasts was about the worst thing that I could imagine.
Luke, you're flat. You're flat.
Yes, I'll have to have those things more on my body.
That's Jennifer Aaliyah, Chaz's fiancée. When they started dating, she had no idea that her girlfriend would become a boyfriend.
Bye. In the beginning, I was terrified primarily of what other people would say and think.
What was the worst thing you thought people would say?
Oh my God, I thought people were going to throw dog feces at our door.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
And when the bandages came off after top surgery, Jennifer says she had quite a realization.
I saw the reveal. I had a relief go through me. I was like, oh, so this is how you're supposed to look. Okay, now it all makes sense.
But does it?
Love you.
I love you too, babe.
We asked Chaz to take us on a trip down memory lane to help us understand the important stops in his journey from chastity to Chaz. We drive by his elementary school.
Very happy memories. I was one of the guys at that school, definitely.
The little girl who hung out with the boys even dressed like them. And then
7th and 8th grade was a particularly hellacious year for me, puberty. And I was at a school that just really wasn't appropriate for my needs. It was just very straight, strict academic school.
uniforms,
Yeah. And
cute little skirts.
yeah, exactly.
Sonny and Cher had divorced years earlier when Chaz was 4. He writes in Transition, the story of how I became a man, that he could dress and act like a boy at his father's house. His father even called him Fred. But at his mother's house, it wasn't so easy. You write in the book in a really painful way, the kinds of things she would say.
I grew up in the 70s and 80s. We didn't know anything about this. My mom has her first child, who's a girl, and had the kind of expectations that any mother would have of their firstborn daughter.
She said things like, you look like a truck driver, you look like a slob.
Right. You know, I mean, I just dealt with it.
When do you first feel, okay, I got it, I'm a lesbian?
It was my 13th birthday, actually. We were living in New York. My mom was doing a play there. I mistook, sexual orientation for gender identity. I went for the obvious answer.
Chaz came out as a lesbian and dated women. There were serious long-term relationships. But something still wasn't quite right, he says.
I just thought that something was wrong with me. Like, I'm not being a good lesbian, I felt like.
How were you failing as a lesbian?
Well, because I was really a man. I never wanted to be a woman. That's how I was failing as a lesbian.
In 2005, Chaz met Jennifer, and they hit it off right away. But soon, Chaz decided to go through with gender reassignment and began taking testosterone, causing tensions to flare.
Jennifer, shut your mouth. What are you talking about? It looks fine.
Stop yelling at
It looks fine.
Don't yell at me. The hormones change people, and I think he's leveled out right now. There was a period where I felt the testosterone was like really machismo, and it was hard to deal with.
The public sort of focuses on the physical changes, but the emotional changes have been, for you, it sounds like, the ones that have been tricky.
At that point when I was watching the female essence leave his body was hard.
I'm the same person. I mean, the essence of me is me. I'm just the male version of me.
Well, she says it's now like dating your twin.
Right. I am the male version of my former self.
Not as sweet.
I disagree. This is her rap, That's not me.
Well, do you see
I'm
yourself?
I'm a sweetie pie. I'm a nice guy.
Well, she started out with a nice girl.
Yeah. But I have testosterone coursing through my veins now.
On the plus side, they both say the hormones have improved their sex life. You say much more sexually aggressive.
Not aggressive sexually, just a higher sex drive. Like all men. It's different,
Have things changed sexually for you with him?
It's more personal, it's more intimate, and it's more frequent.
Anatomically, Chaz remains a woman from the waist down. No plans for bottom surgery yet. Medically, it's easier to successfully remove breasts than create a penis. So can you feel like a man without a penis?
Absolutely. I felt like a man before I was in testosterone. I mean, this is where I'm a man, always. And that's not to say I'd like a penis. I really would like one. And I hope that someday I'll get one.
And what is his famous mother's reaction? There's so much whispering and so much Cher doesn't really approve, and Cher doesn't really go for this. We return now to the story of Chaz Bono. So how does his famous mother Cher feel about his decision to become a man? I asked him, and I asked her.
Show a little more, show a little less.
Cher has always known how to stop a show, like in this number from Burlesque.
Welcome to Burlesque.
But what happened when she was faced with a shocking reality in her own life? How did she react when her daughter told her she wanted to become a man?
She never said, don't do this, or if you do this. In fact, she was, when we first talked about it, so supportive. It was like, you know, she was channeling Gandhi or something. And then the reality hit her.
Chaz says his mother freaked out after he began taking hormones when she heard his more masculine voice on his voicemail. She essentially disappeared.
Yeah, she needed the time to process it, and that was how she did it.
We showed Chaz what Cher said about his transition in an interview I did last fall.
I was really frightened in the beginning, and also I felt that the doctors did not do their due diligence, but she's still the same person. I mean, it really is. No difference. Her hair's darker.
Oh, but she has facial hair. He's had his breasts removed. The pronouns are hard.
It made him happy.
Do you think he knows you support him now?
Yeah, I think so.
So you no longer have a daughter?
I have 2 sons. Never thought that would be, but you know, you go through life and you get what you get. You get what belongs to you.
I got to a point where I was willing to risk everything in every relationship because I finally meant more to me than anybody else. And so the fact that she needed that time, did it hurt a little bit? A little bit. But it was really okay.
So fill in the blank for me. The relationship with your mother at this point is?
The relationship with my mother is moving in the right direction.
As is so much for him now. His book is in stores tomorrow. Also tomorrow, Chaz will appear live on Good Morning America. And a final note, former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and his wife, Maria